So the time has finally come where you're ready to start the process of buying a home. Well, a lot of times the first step here is to meet with a realtor, but you're nervous about that and you don't know what that's like. So what we'll do here today is I'd love to walk you through a lot of the processes I take with my buying clients to show you how the process typically works, whether we work together or not, and to get you a little bit familiar with how you should start the process, what you should really target, how to operate Zillow, and kind of go around the process that way. So what we'll do here today is we'll start looking here with Tampa. We'll start and we'll zoom in right in the Tampa area, right? So all of this looks pretty overwhelming. So what I'll do is I'll take away all these guys and we'll start with a blank screen and we'll kind of work our way back into what this is going to be, all right? So here in Florida, I'll take away a couple things here. We don't have any mountains or that are waterfront, right? So now this is a lot easier to look at where we just have a clear screen, okay? Not too crazy. We'll go straight into the Tampa area, right? So one of the first things I like to do with a lot of my buying clients here is I'll send them this home buyer's preference worksheet. Now this is the worksheet I've thrown together here. It's super simple worksheet. It's about 6 pages or so, and you think that's a lot, but they're all questions about what you're actually looking for. So they're nothing that you need to come up with. It's all answers that you should know at this point already. Whether you like this, you like that, you prefer this, your home information, and what your budget should be. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go through this worksheet here and we'll refer back to the Zillow here. So prepared for it, we'll start with the good old Steven. We'll start with prepared for me, and then today's date is 12/1, 2025, right? So nothing too crazy. Name, Steven, right? We'll go through, we'll type in the call, and then your email, your current address, and we'll go through the process of where are you actually in your starting in your process. Are you renting currently? Okay. Do you own a home? Are you living with family, relocating, so on and so forth? So a lot of times it's just simple, hey, this is where I'm at, boom, I'm renting. Or, hey, I'm not renting, I'm relocating. Something along those lines, okay? And then here, kind of comes down to a question here. It's called decision makers. Now, when we go through the process of buying a home, whether it's you alone, you and your partner, you and your wife, you and your husband, you and your girlfriend, you and your boyfriend, whatever it is, who's the decision makers here? Now, when I say that, a lot of times parents or family members love to give their opinion because they've already done this, and I'm sure they have the best intentions for you, but who's the decision makers? Okay? If it's us working together, and for instance, it's me and you looking to buy a home here, you would be the decision maker, and I'm helping you out through this whole process. Okay? When we get your mom or your dad involved, a lot of times they have great opinions, but they might not be the one that's putting the check over for the home to buy it. Okay, so we need to figure out who the decision maker is. So for instance, there we'll put it as, if you're doing the worksheet here, we'll just put it as me, and we'll put it as Stephen. Right? I'm going through this process. Targeted move date. Now, a lot of times when you're starting to look out for a home, your targeted move date should be, you should really start the process about 3 months out, okay? Maybe 4. You're starting the process that far out because that first month you will spend time on Zillow looking at every single one of these guys. You just will. You'll look at these ones for 5 million, you'll look at the ones for 329. You're curious. This is all new and it's fun. You click on any and all of these guys and they pop up. You get to see how people live. That's really your first month, if not your first couple of weeks, okay? After we get into the process of looking around, we're 3 weeks into a month. Now we're going to see homes, okay? We should know a little bit more of what our situation is. Okay, does that make sense? So a little bit on that. This looks over intimidating, so we'll once again throw this out. When it comes to all these guys, we'll remove them to get a blank screen. But that's just typically how the process works. It's a lot of fun, but narrowing down what you want, you really don't know what you want yet because you haven't gone through this process yet. Okay, so we'll go back to the worksheet here. So target move date. Let's put 3 months out. we'll do 3 months out. Okay, so we'll do 3 months out. Now, also why we do 3 months out is typically the closing time, okay? Your date for closing is typically 30 days away from when you put an offer. So, if we're 3 months out and the first 3 weeks are just for looking, we typically find a house in about a month. That's if we're seeing homes every day, every other day, the weekends, and we're actually going through to a lot of homes. It could be a little bit longer than that. We'll work with your timeline. But for this case, we'll find a house within a month here. So our last month of the 3 months will be the month of closing. Typically, homes close in about 30 days. So we'll move on to the next one here. It's reason for moving. Why are you moving? Let's talk about it. Do you need a better school for your kids? Do you want to change the scenery? Be near a beach? Moving for a job? Whatever it is, we go through the list and we'll kind of talk about it. And a lot of times when we go over reasons why you're moving, you talk about your needs and your wants as well. So there's areas there for you just to kind of get it on out, and we can kind of learn what you actually want, and we can kind of learn more about each other. So this part typically makes people really nervous and whatnot. It really isn't too bad. Okay. So budgeting and financials. Typically what you want to do is you want to get all your monies together. You want to know how much you're making a week, how much you make a year, what your average budget is, how much money you're spending, your credit score, and your tax information. Okay? If that seems overwhelming, what you need to do is get with a loan officer or a lender. You could say there are a whole bunch of different mortgage broker, whole bunch of different names. A lot of times, if you don't know any of them, that's completely fine. A realtor has one that they already work with, that they trust, or has a couple of recommendations that you can go with. Okay? You go to those guys and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm looking to buy a house this year. And then they send you a document of, these are the things we need from you, and you can go there. So if that seems overwhelming, a loan officer can come inside and help you out when it comes to something like that. But typically we need your numbers, right? So for easy math here, we'll do ideal price range. Let's do 500. Good. That's where you want to stay. A little bit above 500, a little bit below the maximum comfortable budget. Let's do 525, right? Healthy budget. We can kind of find whatever we're looking for. For down payment, a lot of times you're going to kind of work this out with your loan officer, whether you're going to put 3% down, 3.5%, 20% down, wherever you're at, you will need to put a down payment down. Okay. This does scare quite a lot of people, but whatever you're thinking at the moment right now, you typically can put a little bit less down. If you're doing FHA, if you're doing conventional, there's quite a lot of things that we can plan for, and this would be steps that early on in our process that we would have already gotten with our loan officer to say, hey, this is how much we're willing to put down, and this is our price range. Okay. So for instance, for 525, let's put down 25. Just easy. Nice, easy number. Okay. Have you spoken to a lender? We'll say yes. Perfect. So location and preferences, and this is kind of where we're going to go back over to this map here as well, right? So preferred areas, cities, neighborhoods, let's say preferred areas. Downtown. Perfect. Well, we have in the Tampa Bay area, we have really kind of 3 downtowns. We got the one here in Tampa, right? You got one down here in St. Pete, and then you've kind of got one going on in the Clearwater area. It's more towards the beach and everything like that. But let's refer to Tampa's downtown. So downtown, good old Tampa. Okay. We're looking for downtown Tampa. Okay. Why these areas? In real estate, we ask a lot of questions throughout the process. It's not to be annoying. It's, just not to get information just for the sake of talking. A lot of times when it comes to getting these homes, we're here to help, okay? We're here to have the conversations that you don't normally have so we can understand what the future might look like. If we talk about them at least one time together, we can game plan, we can say, hey, okay, well, this house might work for our future. This condo might work for our future townhouse, so on. having these conversations with your realtor, a neutral party, we can open doors, we can open conversations, get ideas rolling to say, okay, so what is the future going to bring? What could happen? And does this place work for us? So a lot of times we always ask why, whatever we're doing. And that's just another spot to put it in. So why these areas? We'll just leave that blank when it comes to that. So why these areas? Love downtown. Perfect. Ooh, what have we done here? Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay. And I love downtown. It looks weird. Didn't mean to do that. Well, even more weird. I love downtown. We'll leave it like that. I'll fix that in a second. So, for schools, a lot of times we go through when it comes to kids. Kids are important. What schools they need to go to. We'll check a look at what the schooling is in the area. Okay, so we'll find our area and we'll go through the schools. Commute time. When it comes to commute time, how far are you towards your job? If you're working remote, obviously your commute time is whatever time you get up towards your couch, towards your bed, towards your desk, wherever you work. So commute time is something that we'll kind of go through as well. Lifestyle, amenities, and activities. What do you actually enjoy to do? For instance, I live in downtown in Tampa here, and there are events going on all the time. For instance, if we were down in downtown St. Pete, they have events all the time. They have events over in East Tampa, West Tampa, all over the place. What do you actually like to do? If you love to stay home, play video games, hey, maybe you might not want to be downtown. Maybe you want to be in the side where you're not paying downtown prices if you're not going to utilize what's in the area. Vice versa. Maybe you never spend any time at home, but you want to be close to everything. That could work for you too. So it's really a good look to take a second and be like, what is my life actually am? Can I walk to a grocery store? And if I do walk to a grocery store, would I do that consistency? Or is everything car based? Close to family for this next one. That's just as simple as kind of if you're relocating or if you have family in the area. Who do you see the most? It's really the amenities as well here too. And then for other, that's another spot where we can get in, we can kind of talk about how and who we see, who we like, and so on. Okay? Oh, that shouldn't have happened right there. Okay, so for home type and style, single family home, townhome, condo, multifamily, new construction, and land. For single family home, that's the basic home that you'll see. It's just one home for one family coming in. Townhome, typically you have a shared wall, common wall. You might have more than one common wall. You might have one on each side. Maybe three, you'll have one on each side, one behind you. You might just have the one. Condo, any of the apartment buildings that you see around here, condo buildings, office building, they might have condos in them. Or it could be a multifamily unit where you have a unit of four and each one's designated as a condo that way. So multifamily is typically income producing properties. A lot of times you see that with them. You'll see commercial properties come up that way. Definitely a route that you can go. That's one route that I've gone and we've had terrific success with when it comes to those buildings. But it's very investor smart to go that way too. New construction is very tricky. I absolutely love new construction. I have a long, loving background with it. New construction is terrific. A lot of times, new construction, you can find a lot of these homes with terrific deals on them because the builders want to move them, which makes complete sense. The more homes they build, the more homes they sell, the more money they make. New construction typically is pretty far out, right? So if you are looking at downtown Tampa, St. Pete, any of these areas, a lot of times you get new construction that kind of hovers around these farther side areas, right? So say you might have some new construction over there, and then you have plenty of new construction going on up here, and then you might have some in this corridor, and then you have almost everything going on over there. Well, a lot of times, the second you get out of this massive ring here, same with St. Pete and so on, you your drive times get up so high. Okay, so new construction might seem really nice, be the first one living inside the home, but now are you giving up your location to be in a new construction home? where your commute every day is now 30, 40 minutes because you're outside city limits, and obviously you work at 9 o'clock, so everybody else works at 9 o'clock, so now you have to deal with that. So it's something to consider, especially if driving isn't that big a deal to you. But I know a lot of people don't want to be in the car for more than, a 30-minute commute. That's fine. Um, it's just a little bit more difficult when it comes to finding new construction. There's plenty out there, but it can be a little bit less choices when it comes to kind of out in the country, which makes sense. And then you have the process of land. Land, you can buy land and then build your own home. It completely comes up to whatever your budget is. Even if we had a budget of 500, there are ways to build your own home. It's going to be completely how big the home is and how nice it is and where you get your land at, but there's ways to almost do everything. Everything's negotiable. And in real estate, there's not just a set book for you to do something one way, one time. So it's really nice to work it that way. Okay? Okay, so going on here next, preferred style, modern, traditional, ranch, colonial, craftsman, open concept, brick, and no preference. We have this here just because, hey, let's get this down. What do we actually like? Do you like a craftsman home? Do you want a ranch home? Do you want a brick colonial, right? Do you want just a brick home? Classic. We go through that. Okay, so size and layout. So now what we'll do is once we get to size and layout, we'll kind of come back over to our handy dandy map over here. And I'll make everything come back up. So we'll go and apply. So when we're looking, our first thing here is we go buy, and then we go down to for sale. Okay, we'll put in our price range. Let's do we'll do right at 500. Okay, you can also do it down here and your min, right? You can also split it up to monthly payment if you'd like. We'll go on over and let's say we want a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, right? So 4-bed, we'll go 2-bath home. We want just a regular home. We don't want a townhouse, multifamily, any of these guys. We're just looking for single family, right? Going through everything else, we'll leave it all up. Now we come down to square footage. So for instance, this is where we'd be on this sheet. So bedroom, bathroom, square footage. Square footage is how big your space is, how much space you want, right? So for instance, let's do 2250, right? Decent sized home, not too bad. And then we'll go ahead and hit apply, right? So now, obviously, you can see that we went from, I believe it was over 5,000 homes to 1,400, right? So, must-have rooms. This is kind of where we get into what we really want our home to be, okay? So, we have the opportunity to go through and really get specific when it comes to what exactly do you really want? Do you really want a drive time and so on? We can kind of go in there. A lot of times, it does take those 4 scenarios. Well, actually, those 3, excuse me. No, those 4. The bedroom, the bathroom, the square footage, and then your pricing. And we find homes that way. Okay, so for instance, if this is the exact home that we like, right, we would have to click in and go through and actually take a look at the pictures and say, okay, this could work as an office, this could work as a bedroom, and so on. So you can get really specific, but a lot of times it does take a whole lot of clicking on each one of these to go through and actually take a look to see if the property will work for us. Okay. So when it comes to getting specific, it really just comes down to what you're really interested in. For lot size, small, low maintenance, medium, large, acreage, you have all of the the settings that you would want. For instance, if you did want a bigger lot size, if you want a house that's built between these years, you want something that's less than 5 years old, you want something that's new, old, whatever it is, you can go in and put your settings together. Personally, if you want some acreage, that can be a little bit harder to find within city limits. We'd have to go out farther, but it comes down to whatever you like. So when it comes down to things you need to think about outside, outdoor preferences, outdoor priorities. Do you want a fenced-in yard? Do you want a garage? And if you do want a garage, is it attached, detached? Is it an ADU garage? Do you want an apartment above your garage? Do you want 1 garage stall, 4, 3, however many you want? Do you want a driveway where you can actually fit a car in it? Right? That seems silly to say, but a lot of homes are set so close to the front of the street where you have a driveway, but it's really straight up against your garage door, right? What's the length of your driveway? What do you want? A lot of these are going to be coming into finding the home based off of the square footage in the bedroom and the bathroom, and then you reverse it, you work it that way. You with me so far? Okay. So we're covering a lot here, but it's pretty simple once you get into it and you actually set it up. Last part here under other, you write in all the things that you really want. If you want a house that is in downtown Tampa, but you have a riverfront view, okay, well, we can look for that. You want a beachfront home, boom, we can look for that too. You want a single family home that has a pool in the shape of a bean, well, we can look for that. These are all things that you throw in other, and we'll go through the process. And we might not find it the very first day, but we'll keep on looking and we'll find what you're looking for, right? Well, further on, so the condition and the age of the home. Now, this is pretty important when it comes to it. If you are looking for new construction, you might not run into this too much, but anything over about 3 years old, a house really shows age then, right? So, for instance, move-in ready is maybe changing the paint, maybe a scuff or two on a wall, maybe something in the countertops, and you maybe want to change the blinds or a faucet here or there. That's really move-in ready for me. Something that you could live with the first day. You don't need to do anything because obviously it's move-in ready. You don't need to do anything. But if you want to put your touch on a home, then you can get into it. Light cosmetic is a little bit stage past new move-in ready. Okay, say for instance, light cosmetic, you want to replace the appliances as well as what you were doing before. So you got everything from before. You want to do the paint. You want to do sink faucets. You want to do toilets, toilet seats. You want to do a new shower, something along those lines. Full renovation. We're talking. We're walking in. We're watching where we walk, and we need to start with the flooring. We need to start with the flooring. We have holes in walls. We have doors that don't match up to the latches. There's a smell in the home. Okay, all of this we need to talk about what we can actually do. A lot of times, from my experience, I've done this for 12 years. People tend to think that they can do a lot more than what they actually want to do, which is completely fine. Now, I've recommended some of my clients to be like, hey, maybe when you're freshly married, let's not overtake a full home renovation. You're going through a lot in this time in your life. Let's not do a home renovation. And they do, and they're successful, and that's terrific. But I've seen quite a few times where they don't, right? And, we might be selling your house in the next couple of years here, which will get you some money for it, which is great. But a full renovation does take a special person. Either you have to have some experience, you got to be able to do some work yourself. You have to learn to live inside a construction zone. Construction zone that might not go away in a month, might be there for 6 months or 3 months, along those lines. It's a very much a conversation to be had when it comes to looking at homes that need renovation. But that's definitely something that you talk about with you, yourself, your partner, whoever you're working with at the time. New construction, obviously, the new construction, you can either customize a home from the builder, you can buy completely brand new and ready, or you buy it from the dirt and he comes and builds it for you. Pretty simple when it comes to that. Okay, so preferred age of the home, that kind of falls under the same line. Typically, I see a lot of full renovation homes between the 10 to 30 years, which makes sense. They're older homes, they might be out of date, they might need this or that. I've actually seen lately, in the market right now here in 2025 going into 2026, I've actually seen a lot of full renovation homes coming in this range, right around the 7-year mark. Some of these homes have been lived in pretty hard, and some of the homes weren't necessarily built to the best standards. They were a little bit cheap in some areas. So you typically see a good amount of renovation around those gaps. Anything between the 0 to 5 is, I don't typically see too often because it's pretty new still, and people do take care of the home. But you'll find a lot of homes that are about 7 years old that you could see putting a decent amount of money into to kind of make it your own. And then obviously the 20 to 30 years, a lot of that is updating to keep with the trends, to keep new appliances, to maybe something broke over time. So along there. So a lot of people, we focus whenever I get into a lot of these meetings. This is kind of the most fun part of it. We love to talk about the bad. Deal breakers. What don't you want? Which makes sense. What don't you want? I don't want to be downtown. Perfect. Well, we won't look downtown. I don't want to see any water. Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. We won't look anywhere near the water, near the bay, near the ocean. We'll put you inland. Completely fine. A lot of times getting in there and seeing what deal breakers are, maybe if you haven't had that conversation with your boyfriend, your partner, your wife, whatever it is, you might actually learn something about a lot of people at this stage. So it's a very fun conversation to talk about the deal breakers, because we always ask you why, and then there might be a story that comes up. It's always a good time around this time. So deal breakers is always a great conversation. The last one here is extras. I will be honest with you. When it comes to extras, if we're not in a price point where we can really have unique type of homes, if you're really not in a price point above 550 or so, extras might be a little bit more hard to come by. They're just homes below 550 just a lot of times aren't built with a lot of things that you guys come up with extra, which is fine. So when it comes to wish lists, you want to go through a fireplace, a walk-in pantry. Does it have a pool? EV chargers? Does it have solar panels? Um, a realtor, a good realtor, would love to talk to you about all these things and get you the home that you want. A really good realtor will get you the home that you didn't know that you wanted, that hits your needs. So a lot of times, wish lists and extras are terrific. Let's get you as much as you can, but something that works for the day to day instead of having a pool in the backyard that you use a little bit, having a floor plan that works. There's a lot of things that we can kind of weigh when it comes to what your needs and wants are and how you live. Abstracts are great to put on paper, but the biggest thing that we need to follow along with is what our needs are, and that's what we covered right on up here. That comes into the financials and then into our bit right here for the size and layout. So hopefully you're following along with me still. The very last thing here is one thing I like to put is a note for your agent. You have the entire page. Tell me everything that you want. We're treated as a friend. A lot of times, real estate is super, super social. It's very much a relationships game. Um, so it's a lot of time we get to sit and talk to each other. And how do you actually like to do these things? What do you actually like? What are you actually looking for? So throw in everything there, right? So that's really the gist of it when it comes to this worksheet. I'd rather talk to you like a friend and kind of go over it easily where we can follow along this way. When it comes to getting into Zillow, a lot of times realtors may use Zillow. I know for instance, I use Zillow. You can jump into like realtor.com or homes.com. I know a lot of realtors and real estate professionals have access to the MLS, which is the multiple listing service. I use Stellar and North Star and all these different kind of MLSs. Take what you can get on Zillow, and then we always refer back to tax sites and stuff like that. So whatever you find on Zillow, throw over to your realtor. For instance, we grab any of these listings, right? So say we grab this guy, whoever it's for, make sure you go ahead and you share it over to your realtor so they can take this and then confirm what the information is on Zillow with what the information is through the websites on the MLS, and they can get their hands with the realtor and we can have a conversation on what it actually is. Okay? So that's kind of a brief overview of what the initial meetings are with a realtor before you kind of get the house process going. So I've done this for 12 years, and every situation is very different, very, very different. So if you think that this might not fit for you, there's different worksheets, there's no worksheets, there's completely texting, communicate, whatever it is. Everything's so specific to the person, don't ever feel too intimidated. I've had clients that never look at a home on their phone. They just trust me to bring them to things that they fit their parameters. And we find homes with them pretty quickly. At the same time, I've also had buyers that we set up a group chat together, me and whoever's in, whoever's the decision makers are, and we go through and send homes back and forth throughout the day and just chat about what we like about them. For instance, you send me say you send me this guy right here, right? You send me this guy, and you say, "Oh, did you see the roof? I really like the roof." Okay. Oh, did you see the location on this one? This one would be great for my son. His football team is in the area. Around those lines. Whatever it is, it's really not too scary when it comes to the process. It's communicating with somebody who should be your friend throughout this process and really help you and have a professional background too. So, if you like this video, drop a like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these guys, and these videos will get even better and better with more content and in depth. So I appreciate you if you've stayed to the end of the video. I very much appreciate your time and effort. Hopefully we can meet each other and help you throughout this whole process. So my name's Steven. I appreciate your time and thank you very much.